Hey, what is up, you beautiful people? Welcome to another video. So I've been wanting to create this video for a really long time, but my excuse, I've just been busy. For once, we moved and we've just been busy with that. And also, I don't know how much you guys know about me, but basically I moved to the United States. I studied computer science, and for the past few years or so I have been working on this software platform, and the goal of the platform is really to help businesses get more leads and appointments with digital marketing and Facebook ads and all that stuff, and we've been really crushing it. And for the past 6 months to a year or so, there's this new thing that kind of revolutionized the entire world, and that is AI, right? And it also revolutionized our whole business, and we've been trying to figure out how we could integrate what we're doing right now with AI to help our clients and our users of our platform go out there and crush it in a much higher scale, in a position now to where we're kind of starting to grasp the concept and we're moving the ball forward. So I've been wanting to create this video for a really long time. I wanted to update you guys what's going on with the M5, what we've done, in an attempt to show you and teach you a little bit more about this magnificent engine. Are you going to go out there and build your M5 engine or M6? Probably not, but this is going to be premium entertainment, and hopefully you don't have to be on the other end of this issue. But I just wanted to show you a little bit more about this engine that powers your M5s and M6s and X6, X5Ms of the world. It's a marvel of engineering, it really is. So let's just jump right into the video. So right now what I want to do is I want to show some love to the people who not only watched my videos, but for the ones who actually commented on my last video. So I want to take some time to read some of the comments, reply some of the comments, and hopefully there's a chance for you to learn new things about the project as well and get caught up. As a BMW owner, I feel bad for you, bro. I can tell that you are heartbreaking. I am glad you are getting the parable resolved. And yeah, it is what it is. When life throws you lemons, you make lemonades, and you get the seeds, and you prep the seeds, and you plant the next wave of lemon trees, and you start a lemonade business with all the lemons you're going to get. And not only that, but you also save the rest of the lemons, and you create some lemon seasoning, and you start this whole wave of business all around lemons and lemonades and the whole thing, and you do it all over again. Jeff said, "Jose, very sorry to hear about your significant rod bearing failure. However, glad to see that you've decided to personally attack the rebuild and taking time to share. Sounds like you already have a good plan, place for the crank, rod bearings, and main bearings." Yes. So where we left off the last video, actually I'm going to pick it up right now. We're gonna talk about how I've identified the issue, how we found the issue, and what we're going to do to actually resolve the problem. And I'm gonna put the name on the screen again because I can't pronounce it. If you can swing it, go forged, man. I loved my 2013 F10 M5. However, I started having a lot of issues with mine around 27,000 miles. The AC went out twice, codes kept going bad, the battery died twice in a year, many unexpected problems, not major electrical, and finally my clutches went bad. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm on a stage where I already have the parts necessary to rebuild the engine. I didn't get forged parts, and also here's the thing. My goal with the M5 is not to go crazy to the point where I'll need forged internals. This is going to be my daily driver. My plan is to keep this car around for really long time. If everything goes well with the business, my goal is to also get some other cars, more maybe exotic cars, where I can actually go crazy with it on the horsepower. But the car, the way it is right now, if you get an F10 M5 competition package, it's already crazy the amount of power that it's able to put down. You're going to get problems with the traction control as it is putting all that power down. Mine already has some catalyst downpipe and a nice tune to go along with it, so the power where it's at, it's enough, more than enough for me. So if you're going to get forged internals, you're probably also going to do a few upgrades to actually take advantage of that. Maybe you can upgrade the turbos, and if you're going to do all of that, you're probably going to upgrade your clutches as well, And if you do all of this, you're going to add more stress on the engine because you're going to be run, a much higher level of performance when it comes to a tune. Not only the engine is going to be under a lot of stress, but a lot of parts around the engine is going to be under a lot of stress, and you're going to have issues with other things that you have talked about too. So I want to keep my car close to stock. I'm not going to do anything crazy with it. I added the catalyst downpipes just to really make it sound nice, but other than that, I am really good where I'm at. And then this person said, it's always a bolt-on when something like this happens, but everything happens for a reason and for the best. Very true. However, I've heard stories, and I've seen actually on the forums when researching this issue, stock cars, F10 M5s, low mileage, these things happen and it's a hit or miss. But again, when you actually decide to tune your cars, you're going to add more stress. So it's going to be more likely that you're going to have an issue like this. So it's probably a good idea to tackle this before you think about any type of performance and upgrades. Great video, and I know exactly how you feel, but I hope the outcome is praiseworthy. Make more videos. Yes, I will try my best to. When is a new video coming out? I got you. So we left off with that turbo sound, that turbo clicking sound on the motor. Chances are everything was pointing towards rod bearing issues, but we were still not sure. The only way to actually find out if it's a rod bearing problem is to actually take apart the engine and find the issue. Now what I did is I was able to go under the car and inspect the car from underneath to be able to find out if it's actually the rod bearing issues. And to be able to do that, well, there is some work involved, but not as much as actually taking apart the engine or taking the engine out of the car. And here's what we did. Now, in most engines, to be able to access the rods and the crankshafts from underneath, all you have to do is take out the oil pan. Now, the S63 TU or the S63 or the N63, the oil pan is divided in two sections. There's the lower oil pan that gives you access to the oil pump, and there's also the upper oil pan that gives you access to the rod bearings. So when you take out the lower oil pan, you pretty much won't be able to see anything. Now, in order to take out the upper oil pan, you need to take out pretty much everything under the subframe that's on the way. Because even if you're able to remove the oil pan, you won't be able to completely take it out of there because there's really no space. So that's what we had to do. Unfortunately, we had to take out everything underneath the car to be able to access the lower oil pan. So the steering, the subframe, and pretty much everything had to come out. Now, when we actually did that, we did find out that one of the rods were shaking a lot. Actually, I think it started with one rod that eventually affected the rod right next to it. At this stage, I was already tired, but we had good news and bad news. The good news is we know what the problem is, but the bad news is to be able to actually tackle the issue, we had to take off the whole entire engine. So the next step was to actually work on taking the engine out of the car. Now, when it comes to doing that, there's a few ways I've seen people doing it on the F10 M5. Some people the best way is to, if you have a lift, is to just remove all the bolts that holds the engine and just remove the subframe and have the engine with it. Unfortunately, I don't have that at home. Now, I've seen some people remove the engine without removing the bumper, just pretty much fish the engine out of the car. That was really sketchy. I didn't want to mess anything else, so I actually had to take my time, remove the front bumper, remove the radiators, remove everything that was on the way of the engine, and actually remove the engine out of the car from the front. Some people also go ahead and remove the transmission, but since there was no issue with the transmission, everything seems to be okay with the DCT. I left DCT in there. I just disconnected from the transmission, and that way I was able to remove the engine with the flywheel in there. Now, before I removed the engine, I had to remove some of the wires and some of the hoses that were around the engine and the front. But once that was done, I was able to remove the whole entire engine with all the hoses in there. I mean, just a look at these. There's hoses everywhere, there's wires everywhere, so I had to take a lot of notes to make sure that everything goes back in the right place, because there's so many radiators and hoses that, Jesus Christ, you have to appreciate these things, because oh my goodness, it is truly a marvel of engineering, but boy, it is complicated. I removed the intakes. Of course, I removed the oil coolers, the intercooler, so to speak, and I removed some of the wires that were sitting on top of that for the ignition. Of course, the ECU also had to be removed, the bridge, everything else, but I left the turbos in there, and I left some of the really most important components attached to the engine. That way I can remove the engine and remove those components one by one individually, because I will have more space around it to be able to remove those. But here's an issue. I had a engine hoist to be able to remove the engine, and my brother helped me disattach the engine to make sure everything went smoothly, but I didn't have an engine holder to attach the engine to and work on the engine. So the next part was to actually go into Harbor Freight, and I found some engine holders in Harbor Freight to be able to bring back home and keep working on the car. And this is where the 535i came in handy. Listen, if you're going to get a BMW, get yourself an inline six. This car has been so reliable and saved me from so many troubles. So listen, if you're gonna jump into a BMW, I suggest strongly go with inline six, unless you have the cash in place to be able to go with the M cars. You know, there's nothing wrong with the M cars. It's just that in case something goes wrong, it is going to be expensive because you're going to pay the M tax. But in terms of reliability, the inline sixes, that's where it's at. So we jump on the 535i, went to Harbor Freight, grabbed ourselves an engine holder, and we came back home. Once that was done, I was able to remove the engine, and then we just remove a few more items to make the engine lighter. I didn't want to put the engine on the engine stand just the way it is with the turbos and the exhaust headers and all the parts in there, because I didn't know how heavy the engine is. There's a secret. BMW won't release how heavy the S63 TU engine is. I didn't want all that weight being held by the engine stand, so I removed some of the stuff. Here's where the other problem came in. I actually didn't have the tools in my garage to remove the main bolt that actually holds the crankshaft safely. And this is one of those bolts that the amount of torque that you need to be able to remove it is ridiculous. So what did I do? I actually put the engine in the back of the 535i, took it to an engine machine shop to be able to remove the crankshaft. So here's a weird flex. I got a BMW 5 Series with the engine in the trunk. But either way, they were very helpful. They were very cool, and I actually talked to them a lot about the engine rebuild process, because they're experts when it comes to building engines, not only regular engines, but actually they've built a lot of race car engines and also BMW engines. So they are the best at their craft. And best thing for me is they're actually next to my house, relatively close, so to speak. So I actually talked to them about bringing back my block to get it inspected, to see if actually it's healthy enough for me to rebuild the engine with my blocks, check all the tolerances and check all the surfaces, and if so, I'm gonna get it clean, professionally resurface with the heads. And that brings our video to a conclusion. So where am I right now? The engine's out of the car, it's into 1,000 pieces. We have all the pieces necessary, and all we have to do now is go and actually take stock of all the parts that we have to buy to rebuild our engine again. And also, of course, I am going to buy all the gaskets, all the seals, brand new. I'm probably going to have to replace some hoses and some other parts too. So we kind of have to take stock of everything we need and just go out there and start spending money. So that is it for this video. Everything is out. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, let me know down in the comments, and I'm looking forward to work on the next video and put everything back together as we continue this series for the S63 TU. Talk to you soon on the next one.